If you clicked on this video, you're probably in one of two situations. Either you're carrying debt right now and you're tired of feeling like you're making no real progress, or you started trying to get your finances under control, but you're not really sure what the smartest way forward is.
Whichever one sounds more like you, we are really glad you're here, because just a few months ago, that was us. We were literally living paycheck to paycheck, stressed out about money, carrying over £22,000 of debt. And honestly, we could not see a way out.
Fast forward 7 months now, we'd paid off every single penny. Not because we suddenly started earning six figures.
Nope.
Not because we won the lottery.
Nope.
And definitely not because someone handed us a secret. We simply built a plan and we stuck to it.
So in this video, we're going to break down exactly how we did it. We'll explain every major decision we made, why we made it, the mistakes we learned from, and show you how our debt reduced month by month until we officially became debt-free.
If your goal is to completely change your financial situation, then stick around, because later on in this video, we'll show you the one decision that shaved off months of our debt-free journey and saved us thousands in interest. So, our story actually starts a year before we ever paid off our first debt. Back in October 2024, I lost my job. Through no fault of my own, but at the time, we were completely unprepared for something like that. We had no emergency fund, no meaningful savings, no extra streams of income. It was just our salaries. And suddenly, we'd lost half of our household income.
To begin with, we tried to make what little savings we had last for as long as possible, but it didn't take long before they were gone. And that's when things became really stressful. We still had rent to pay, bills to pay, food to pay. Life didn't suddenly stop because we'd lost an income.
So like a lot of people probably would, we borrowed because we genuinely needed to get through that season. Looking back at it now, it wasn't the position we wanted to be in. But at the time, it felt like we didn't have any other option.
But thankfully, Joseph found another job a few months later, and that definitely helped us stabilize things. But if we're being honest, we weren't moving forwards. We were just surviving.
Every month felt exactly the same as the last. Our salaries would come in, and before we even had the chance to enjoy it, it already has been allocated. Bills, debt payments, living costs. Then we'd wait for the next payday. We were stuck in that cycle, and neither of us wanted to be in that for the rest of our lives. So fast forward a few months, it was around May 2025, and one evening, we were just sitting down together in our living room. Nothing dramatic had happened that day. There was no huge argument or financial emergency, but we both just had this overwhelming feeling that this can't be our life forever.
No. Funny enough, it was actually me that initiated that conversation, because we were working hard, we're doing everything we thought we're supposed to be doing, yet every single month still felt financially tight. We weren't enjoying work, we weren't in control of our time, and we definitely weren't moving towards the future we wanted. It honestly felt like we were just surviving from one payday literally to the next. And that's when I brought up something that, if I'm honest, was quite difficult to say out loud. I suggested that we move back in with Joseph's parents. Not because we wanted to, because we knew it would dramatically reduce our monthly expenses. And it wasn't an easy decision. We absolutely loved having our own place. But we also knew that if we kept protecting our comfort, nothing in our financial situation was ever going to change.
Yeah, around the same time, something else happened as well that ended up playing a huge role in our journey. Earlier that year, Bea had been offered a voluntary redundancy at her work. At first, we weren't sure whether taking it was the right decision. But after a lot of conversations, we realized that the redundancy payment could become the one thing that jump-started our entire debt payoff plan.
So now we had two massive decisions in front of us. Move back home and use my redundancy strategically instead of spending it. Neither decision was easy, but looking back now, these two decisions completely changed the direction of our lives.
Because for the first time, we finally chosen something we had never really had before. A monthly surplus. A gap between what was coming in and what was going out. And that gap changed everything. So now there was a plan in place. But before we paid any single penny of debt off, we knew one thing. If we were going to do this properly, we needed to understand exactly what we were up against.
So the very first thing we did was write down every single debt we owed. Every loan, every credit card, every overdraft, every buy now, pay later account, everything. No matter how uncomfortable it was to look at.
And honestly, seeing it all written down in one place was a bit of a shock, because until then, we'd only ever looked at one payment at a time. One app, one bank account, one loan. But when you put everything together, that's when we realized just how much debt we had actually started carrying. Over £22,000. But here's something really important. We didn't just write down the balances. We also listed the interest rates, because those interest rates were going to determine the order in which we attacked everything. And that's when we decided to use something called the Debt Avalanche. If you've never heard of it before, go watch our previous videos. But it's actually really simple. Instead of paying off the smallest balance first, you pay off debt charging you the highest interest first, while still making minimum payments on everything else. That way, you're reducing the amount of interest you're actually paying overall.
And once we'd chosen that strategy, everything became so much simpler. We didn't have to wake up every month wondering, what should we pay this month? The plan had already made the decision for us. All we had to do was follow it.
Well, almost. Because there was actually one time where we deliberately broke our own plan. And this is the decision we mentioned at the beginning of the video. B's Zopa loan wasn't actually next in line according to the Debt Avalanche. So technically, we shouldn't have paid it off yet. But because B had recently received her redundancy payment, I decided to sit down and calculate two different scenarios. Option A was to follow the Debt Avalanche exactly. Option B was to use part of the redundancy to clear the Zopa loan immediately. And when I compared the two, something really surprised me actually, because the Zopa loan balance was so large, leaving it for another couple of months would have actually meant paying interest on that bigger balance the entire time. So when I ran the numbers, paying it off immediately actually saved us more money overall, even though it wasn't technically next in the Debt Avalanche.
So that's exactly what we did. We used part of the redundancy to clear that loan straight away. Then we jumped straight back into the avalanche for everything else.
And I think there's a really important lesson in that. Don't just follow a system because somebody on the internet told you so. Wink, wink. Understand why the system actually works, because once you understand the principles, you can make even better decisions for your own situation. So now, with our strategy in place, our tracker ready, and our monthly surplus finally working for us instead of against us, it was time to see whether this plan would actually work. So October was all about preparation. We'd moved back in with our parents by this point. We had our tracker, we had our strategy. Now it was finally time to put everything into action. November was our first proper month, and honestly, we couldn't have asked for a better start. The very first debt to go was my Oakbrook loan, at almost 70% interest. Every extra month we left that debt sitting there was costing us money. So seeing that one disappear first, it felt amazing.
But because we had moved back home and because we'd received my redundancy payment, we didn't stop there. So another debt disappeared, and then another, then another. And by the end of the very first month, we had completely cleared 4 debts.
And that was probably the first time we genuinely believed this might actually work.
Now, December looked very different. Not because we had lost motivation, but because life still happened.
Yeah, it was Christmas, and both of our parents actually have birthdays in that month as well. We knew there was going to be extra expenses. So instead of pretending those costs didn't exist, we planned for them.
Yeah, and 2 debts naturally finished because they were already coming to the end of their payment plans. But apart from that, we decided to enjoy Christmas and then come straight back into January even stronger. Every debt we cleared freed up even more money for the next month. And this is where the avalanche really starts becoming powerful, because every debt you eliminate makes the next one even easier.
So by February, something funny started happening. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by 15 debts, we could actually count the ones we had left.
3 more gone, and suddenly the finish line didn't seem so far away anymore.
Yeah, March became another huge month as well. 3 more debts disappeared. And then, for the first time, only 1 debt remained. My MBNA credit card, ironically, was the biggest balance, but had the lowest interest rate out of everything in the Debt Avalanche.
Seeing every other debt crossed off and just 1 left, honestly, it felt surreal. Now, all of our attention was on one target. Every spare pound, every minimum payment we freed up everything went towards MBNA.
Yeah, and around this time, something else started happening. B had started her wedding coordination business. And for me, after 6 years of learning, I finally became consistently profitable with my trading.
So instead of spending that extra income, we treated it exactly the same as everything else. 50% went straight towards the debt avalanche. Because by this point, we weren't interested in feeling rich for a weekend. We wanted to become debt-free forever.
Then May arrived, which is actually my birthday month. £2,367. That's all that stood between us and complete debt freedom. Now looking back, a lot of people ask us, so what was the secret? Was it the debt avalanche? Was it moving back home? Was it the redundancy? Was it earning more money? And honestly, the answer is yes to all of the above.
It wasn't one magical decision. It was lots of small decisions made consistently over and over again. Moving back home created our monthly surplus. And without that, the avalanche would have moved so much more slower. Taking my redundancy wasn't about receiving money. It was about using that money intentionally. Instead of upgrading our lifestyle, we upgraded our future.
Learning about personal finance completely changed how we thought about money. Before that, we used to ask, can we afford the monthly payment? Now we started asking, is this helping us build the future we actually want? That one mindset shift changed almost every financial decision we made afterwards.
And then there was increasing our income. I started my wedding coordination business. Joseph's trading finally became consistently profitable. And instead of spending that extra money, we treated it exactly the same as our salaries. It had a job to do.
And finally, there was consistency. Because if we're honest, there wasn't a single month where we suddenly became financial experts. There wasn't one payment that magically changed everything. It was simply just showing up every single month and sticking to the plan we already made. And looking back now, I don't think the debt avalanche was the biggest reason we became debt free. I think it was the fact that for the first time in our lives, every financial decision was pulling in the same direction.
Everything had one purpose: our surplus money, my redundancy, our businesses, the avalanche, even our sacrifices, guys. Everything was working together towards one goal. And that's why we believe this worked. Not because we found the perfect strategy, but because we finally stopped working against ourselves. So looking back now, obviously, we are incredibly grateful for how things turned out. But if we could go back and speak to ourselves before we started this journey, there are definitely a few things that we tell ourselves.
The first one is that we would have started learning about money much sooner. Because for years, we thought managing money was simply about earning more. But the truth is, you can earn more money and still stay stuck if you don't know what you're doing with it. Learning about personal finance completely changed the way we look at every financial decision after that.
The second thing is that we would have stopped trying to maintain a lifestyle we couldn't actually afford. Moving back home was one of the hardest decisions we made. It wasn't glamorous, and it definitely wasn't what we'd imagined for ourselves. But it gave us the breathing room we desperately needed. And looking back now, it was one of the best financial decisions we've ever made.
And finally, we would have stopped waiting for the perfect time. Because if there's one thing this journey taught us, it's that your financial situation doesn't change overnight. It changes the moment you decide to take the first step. Everything after that is just repeating the decision over and over again.
If we'd waited until we earned more, or until life became less stressful, or until everything felt perfect, we probably wouldn't be sitting here today making this video. Nope.
Sometimes the biggest financial breakthrough doesn't come from earning more. It comes from finally deciding enough is enough. And for us, that decision completely changed the direction of our lives.
So if we had to summarize everything you've seen in this video, paying off £22,000 of debt was not about finding one magic trick. It wasn't just the debt avalanche. It wasn't just moving back home. It wasn't just my redundancy. It wasn't just earning a little bit more money. It was all of those decisions working together towards one goal. So if you're watching this and you're feeling overwhelmed by debt, don't focus on paying off everything tomorrow. Focus on making the next right decision, then the next one, then the one after that, because that's exactly how the journey started for us.
Yeah, 7 months ago, becoming debt-free felt impossible. Today, it's actually just our reality. And if 2 ordinary people on average salaries could completely change their financial situation, there's no reason why you can't start changing yours.
So if you've got any questions about our journey, or if you'd like us to make a video explaining something in more detail, let us know in the comments down below. We genuinely love to help. And if you found value in this video, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because our goal isn't just to share our journey, it's to help as many ordinary people like ourselves take back control of their finances and build a life they genuinely love.
Your journey doesn't have to look exactly like ours, but we really hope today is the day that yours begins. So on that note, let's jet to success together, and we will see you in the next one.
Take care, guys.